Hi, I'm Roberto Martinez and you're watching Toffee TV.
Welcome back to Toffee TV with me, Peter McPartland and Barry Cass. It's uneventful at the moment, that's all I can say, Baz. It's very, very uneventful. We'd love to maybe making a video about a new signing or a new couple of signings, but there's nothing really we can offer anyone, is there? And that seems to be the big problem at the moment. Fans are getting a little bit worried about the lack of transfer activity, especially when you see other clubs signing players, and it's leading to let's call it a bit of blue fume on different variations of social media.
It's all a bit boring, isn't it? And a bit tedious now. The links every day, and Willie, Woney, and you see a lot of other clubs spend the money. I think there's only Spurs who actually haven't signed, and Everton have actually signed someone. We've actually got Gareth Barry in, which is a good bit of business. Let's not move away from that. But the Fume meter is definitely rising.
Fume
I think
meter is up there, isn't
I think
it?
It's moving up.
But I suppose the big problem is that we're linked with Mohamed Besic, who indeed. That's the thing. He's not even like a big name player, but fans are so hungry for a new signing and confirmation of news that they're latching onto anything. And I suppose it's the old Everton thing. You get told one thing, and it's been a week since, there'd been links in newspapers. Over a week. In fact, a national radio station in this country said nearly 10 days ago that he'd signed for Everton, which was completely wrong, but fans buy into this stuff. Now that's an ongoing process, isn't it? That is a player that Everton are actively seeking to sign, but unfortunately, due to things out of their hands, they haven't managed to sign him yet. But I suppose the club will always stay silent about signings till they're done. But fans in this 24-hour news environment, 24 hours sitting on Twitter, very, very little else to do. They're just eager, aren't they, for something to latch onto.
When I said I know Mohamed Besic is. It's just that everyone else seems to have been saying absolutely nothing about him. We all want to sign him. We all want the same. I mean, we talk to people on Twitter and other mediums, and sometimes, or certainly when I have these conversations, I don't know about you, people kind of talk to me as if I'm not really that bothered. Yeah. As if like, why aren't you bothered? I am just exactly the same. Yeah. You are, the pair of us were texting away and what's happening, what's going to happen, and we're all the same. We all want players to come in through the door, and I think when the likes of Besic drags on, because we know that things are going on. Like you say, Everton have kind of done their bit, and we're waiting on other stuff. And there's a school of thought that says, why don't Everton just make the payments to whatever it is and get this wrapped up? I'm not privy to that information, are we? So we can only guess that it's maybe a little bit more complex than that. But we just want players in. We want to see what's really kind of getting me down now is we finished the season on such a high, and we were all looking forward to the World Cup, but then quickly getting back and getting our players in and building for the future and for next season. And I think we just risk losing that bit of momentum now. I think it feels as though everything's just slowed right down on it, and just look and think, I just wish we'd hurry up and actually do something.
It's just the excitement, isn't it, of getting a new player and seeing other players, other teams get new players. It's also the environment we live in, Twitter, social network, where very, very quickly a rumour becomes a fact because a few people talk about it. It becomes a fact, and then it rolls into this snowball effect where you've convinced yourself that we're signing a player, and because we don't sign this player or we haven't signed this player, there's an anger starts, and it's clever because the newspapers latch on to that and probably use those rumours that have been started on Twitter anyway and put it out there, and it all changed, doesn't it? It all changed. It all fills newspapers. It's what newspapers have been doing for years. They're latching onto. They hear a rumour in a pub, and then it suddenly gets into the mainstream, and then it becomes fact, and that's how things seem to work now. And we have to try and get away from that, haven't we? And just sort of, you mention here not being angry. You've got to sort of step back, haven't you, and say, well, what do you want to do? What do you want us to do? Everton are not a massively rich club. They have to pick the targets accordingly. And I think that's what seems to be happening at the moment. And I suppose we're in the position where we sort of trust Roberto Martinez enough to say, well, we're going to give you the bit of leeway here and do what you need to do.
Yeah, I think that's the right thing to do, but you do see why people are getting wound up. I think half the problem is that things get out now, don't they? And because of social media, they're out there and they very quickly, like you say, become fact. And there's that many people popping up with information now. You know, there's a signing in 48 hours and everything else, and that doesn't happen, and it causes that, you know, angst and why haven't we signed anyone, and everything gets heightened. You know, I think Everton, to settle everyone down, needs to quickly make a signing, but Roberto Martinez is going to make the signings when he makes them.
It's also some of the rumours you hear, they're so stupid because, you know, you've got these people out there making money from peddling rumours. We all know who they are, you know, these click accounts. We know exactly what they're doing, and yet people buy into it because they're so hungry, and then they mention it, and the next minute, because they mention it, someone else latches onto it who might be a fan of Everton, and then because it's an Everton fan, it suddenly becomes fact, and it's just stupid. And then you hear rumours like the people in the club shop are being told to get shirts ready because they're going to... As if that would ever happen. As if in the real world a club would tell its employees that they need to get shirts prepped because there's going to be a new signing and there's going to be a massive, like, you know, run into the club shop. That's not the real world, people. We don't live in that world. So please don't fall for these stupid rumours. You know, the best way to know when a rumour's true is when you see the guy signing a piece of paper with a shirt on. I mean, that's the only way to really know, isn't it? Let's be honest. So
I think that the modern day footballer and the way transfers are, things change by the hour. You know, it's not straightforward anymore. The greatest thing to do is, like you say, just wait until they're there. But I think the problem is that people are ready to just leak any kind of information. So agents and people around the player will start to feed newspaper reporters, and so it gets out and it's in the press then. And then once it's in the press, it might be at the very start of the transfer. So you might say Mohamed Besset, for argument's sake, Everton might say, or his agent might say, right, Everton have agreed loosely a deal with Ferenc Savros and he's coming over for talk, or I'm going for talks, and the paper will put it out that he's ready to sign. So someone reading it, why wouldn't you do it? You'd open the paper and it's got Everton are signing Besset next 48 hours. Any fan would believe that. Why? Because it's in the paper there. The fact of the matter is, years ago, that story only came out when they really were ready to sign. So you did only have to wait kind of a day. Now, they're released at the very start. Liverpool had the situation with Markovic. That was released when Suarez was still a Liverpool player, when the World Cup was going on, and he only put pen to paper the other day. That went on for about 4 weeks.
Costa at Chelsea as
Costa's
well.
That's been 8
But then it
weeks.
happens the other way, doesn't it? You know, because, you know, look at like the Leroy Fair situation. Everton have got, we're about to sign the player. You know, the player's coming over. It's subject to medical. There'll be no problem. Then he fails his medical, and everyone's like, why did you put it out there? The club suddenly becomes a laughing stock. The club understands that. The club learns. Once something is out in the world we live in now, it's sort of very hard to get it back. You know, you can't get it back. So clubs are just going to be very, very quiet about these things now.
I think that the biggest thing for like Besset, when people come, you know, people have asked me or asked other people or reporters or whatever, or you, they'll say, is this going on because it was reported? Well, the club, the fact that Everton haven't come out and said it's a load of rubbish, it kind of tells you. But like you've just said, they're not going to come out and say, well, Mohamed Besset is ready, the ink's getting ready on his contract, because it isn't signed off. And
what really doesn't help is when you see these idiots who like either start fake accounts, fake Facebook accounts, fake Twitter accounts, you know,
Mohamed Besset 7 and all of that kind of stuff. Is that Besset over there, by the way?
They have all these fake accounts, and then you get these people who like change the name on Twitter to
certain
to
local
like,
journalists.
so it looks like their name, and then people go, oh, and then it's not. It's just a completely fake account.
There was one the other day, wasn't there, with Greg O'Keefe, that someone had changed it saying Lukaku signed this £22 million deal, and it catches a few fish, doesn't it? And before you know it, it's retweeted everywhere.
And we've seen all this with like, I think Tony Barrett, people have been. It just annoys me. Why would you do that? I mean, it make you laugh for about a minute. It's just ridiculous. It's just.
I think the problem is at this time of the year, we're all, like you said, at the very top of the thing, we're all hungry for information,
I know.
And you say to people, oh, just be patient and things like that, but I
it's
think
hard,
even
when we were kids, we had like the club call. We've mentioned this before, and we actually had to pay for that kind of fake information. So at least people are getting it for free. All right, let's move on to some things we do know. Gareth Barry's now signed. He's in the door. Got that sorted out, which is
got his training gear on. And
yeah, it's good news, isn't it? It's good news. Got that one sorted. Got it reasonably done early. The day Martinez basically came home from the World Cup. So, you know, he's been away with the club at Austria, and he started pre-season training, and that's all that's all we needed.
We said it before about how important he is to us, and it was really important to get him in through the door. He's come in, and he's fitted right back in, and he's the kind of player who will produce, you know, sort of help the likes of Ledson and James McCarthy and things like that. And that's one that'll just come in, he's signed permanently, and he knows what we're all about, so we just move forward from there. So
another new signing is Joe Royle, come to the club. We thought he was going to sign this deal back in May, went to Norwich, which surprised a lot of us. We thought he was going to go in for this job at Everton, and he's done a complete U-turn, come back to the club, and has been put into this role that Roberto Martinez had marked for him. And the job is basically going out there, isn't it? Looking after those players we've got out on loan, keeping an eye on them, keeping an eye on the way they're playing, and making sure they've got what they need.
Done a little bit of a David Unsworth, didn't he? Lasted a bit longer than Unsworth with the Villa situation. But it's a fantastic appointment, I think, for Everton. I think to have someone like Joe Royle back at the club on the backroom staff, albeit working with the young players. I'm quite sure Roberto Martinez will speak to him about a number of things. It's just the last manager to win a trophy with Everton and everything else. I just think it just kind of fosters that Everton mentality, if you like, and that keeping the Everton theme running right.
Especially after we lost Alan Stubbs as well, and David Unsworth. We're still not sure whether he will take over 100% as the under-21s manager. And obviously, Alan Irvine as well. Alan Irvine's gone as well. So lost a couple, got one in, and there's a few roles that need to be sorted out at the club. So that's good news, and we're back. We're back on pre-season as well. Starts this week, Tranmere, then Leicester away, which is sounds a familiar fixture. That
Leicester,
one.
Leicester very away.
Yeah, very away.
Very away
in Thailand. Added a couple of pre-season fixtures as well. One at home to Celta Vigo, which has actually been played at Tranmere's ground, which is a bit of a strange one. Bit of a first, that, isn't it?
It's a bit mad, but again, it's one of those where the club will only commit to one home friendly in the pre-season. Obviously, policing costs and everything else, and the pitch. I know the pitch is being used as don't want to wreck the pitch, despite it being kind of 2 weeks nearly before the first game's played on it. And maybe a chance to get Tranmere some.
It makes sense, doesn't it? Because you're not going to fill Goodison Park for a friendly. So why not go somewhere like that? Or we can go get a ground on loan, on
loans, ever loan.
And then we can go over there, as you say, you play a team on a decent pitch, and as Roberto Martinez has said, it's all gearing up for the season, and obviously we've added another pre-season game over in Germany against.
I'm waiting for you to say it.
Against
Paderloon.
I thought it was more Paderborn, but we'll go Paderloon if that's what you want.
It's loan and everything's loan.
A team has just been promoted to the Bundesliga. And again, Roberto Martinez has done this, as in he said, it's a team, a place that could come up in the Europa League. Not obviously not that team, but that kind of scenario. You go in, you train, you come home, and he's just trying to recreate that scenario. And you feel this some of the pre-season's been done sort of at a very basic level to just get the maximum out of the players with the minimum amount of travelling, but also setting up those scenarios for next season.
Yeah, I mean it's the European experience, isn't it? You're playing three sides, from Europe. It's a case of like you're saying, it's building the fitness, getting the where to play, where to go, the players back with a ball on the pitch. And it has been quite low-key this year. Obviously he's spoken about wanting to go back to America, and that may be the case for next summer. We may go back there. So this has been I think the World Cup's obviously hindered a lot of the planning this summer. and a couple of tournaments didn't come off that they maybe had irons in the fire with. But realistically, it's doing everything to make sure we're ready on the 16th of August, and he feels that this opposition will get everyone going. It's all about the ball at the moment, you know, with this manager, and if we can get, you know, these games played, don't get any injuries, get the players used to playing again, like we say, everything's geared for that, the 16th of August.
Finally, we'll go back to the transfer situation. I wanted a bit of a breather in between. The elephant in the room, which seems to be Romelu Lukaku. I know he's a big lad, he's not quite elephant sized, but you know, at the moment, this seems to be the major gripe with a lot of fans. Is he coming? Is he staying at Chelsea? Is he coming on loan? And what the other issue seems to be as well is that are Everton's other transfers this summer based on what happens with this deal? You know, if he comes, does that leave less money, so different targets? Or if he doesn't come or comes on loan, do the targets become better because there's more money to spend?
It's the £20 million question, isn't it, really? I think it looks like at the moment they're waiting for a decision from Romelu Lukaku in terms of does he want to come here permanently or does he want to come here on loan. I think my own feelings on that, and I could be well wrong, are that he will potentially just come here on loan. I think he's looking at maybe staying at Chelsea. I think it wouldn't be surprised me if he signs a new contract at Chelsea.
For what that's worth.
For whatever it's worth, but then he comes back to Everton. Yeah. I think he's keen to come back for this season to Everton. But then again, if he doesn't get what he wants from Chelsea, then why not sign for Everton, you know, full time? And I think in some respects, I think if Everton were to get him on loan for another 12 months, I think Roberto Martinez would be quite happy with that, because he'd get, obviously Rom would be back in there, and we know that he was the main striker all last season. It then enables you to move that budget to other areas and maybe buy another centre forward. I mean, I see a situation where Everton could quite easily end up with someone like Wilfred Boney on permanent and Romelu Lukaku on loan. And imagine Everton having two strikers like that at the disposal. And people on here will be going, don't play with two strikers, so that'll never happen. The manager's actually said he wants two strikers, so why wouldn't it happen? And who's to say in some games Romelu Lukaku wouldn't be used wide left like he was against Arsenal, cutting in with Boney in the middle, and Wilfred Boney rotated, got a lot of games this season. So I think actually Lukaku coming on loan in some ways might be a good thing for Everton. I think that everyone will shout at me or come at me and say, yeah, but if we bought him, then we'll make our money on him. Yeah. And that is obviously the massive plus with him. He's 21 years of age. You spend 20 million on him, you could quite easily see that going up to 35 million in 2 seasons. I wouldn't think it. I don't think it's that bad a thing if he comes back on loan.
Well, I mean, we don't know, do we? I mean, ideally we want him back at the club, but the ideal situation is it needs to be sorted out in the next week or so, because this is not something that can be ongoing. I mean, we're sitting here now, you know, we're a month or so away from the season, just shy of a month, and you want them players in for your pre-season. Now, obviously, if you're buying players that have been in the World Cup, it doesn't really make any difference because you've got a couple of weeks anyway. But if the targets are not players played in the World Cup, you want them in, don't you? And you want them in the pre-season.
I think we definitely want them. I think that the thing to remember is the players have only been back a week, just over a week, so it's still relatively early. I think for us as fans, we want them in because we want to all relax. I think everybody wants to forget about tweeting about Romelu Lukaku, and please don't tweet him now and say join us, because it just makes us look a bit.
And if he doesn't sign, please don't tweet him calling him for all kinds.
I think we all want a resolution to this problem, because it is a problem at the moment. For us, it's probably not a problem for Roberto Martinez. He's probably got a nice glass of Rioja and he's just chill, but we obviously as fans... Drink. No, well, all right, Vimto pretending it's a Rioja. You know, we as fans want it tidied up, because it will be interesting to see if he isn't the player we sign, who he then goes after, and who else his options then become, because I still think we need 5 or 6.
Need a few, and that's the interesting thing, because there's not a massive amount of rumour out there about who we're getting linked with. There's a couple of players very much. And you know, it just feels at the moment like Roberto Martinez is just putting all his love into one man. And that's Romelu Lukaku.
That's how it looks on the outside. For all we know, he's got, you know, them lined up, and it'll be a case of...
Well, I'm sure he has, and you know, keeps things very quiet. But it just feels like he's just trying to send all those positive vibes to Romelu's way and saying, "We want you. We're waiting for you, and come and sign for us." Whatever way it is, I'm sure he'll know whichever way it is. But
I think the fact that Everton haven't walked away from this situation yet shows you that there's a lot of... What it shows you is the fact that the likes of Lukaku is wants, you know, he's open, quite open and happy to come back to Everton. It's within what format. And I know we've had a lot of people on Twitter, you know, he's signed, they've printed shirts in the shop, they've done medicals at Finch Farm at the weekend, they've got, you know, everything. Me auntie's down,
he's in the Aldi.
He's there, and you know, he's everywhere. But the fact of the matter is, we just need a resolution to it, and the quicker that is, I think the quicker for all of us and for everyone's sanity, because I think everyone's fed up.
To be fair, it is more about us than it is about the situation, isn't it?
Yeah,
because we all sat here last year and we'd signed 3 or 4 players. They weren't big names, but we'd been satisfied our desire for transfers. And then there was a lull, and then we all started up again because we didn't have a transfer every single day. And then when it came to the deadline day, we're all there again, and we're all ready to do it. Then we get 3 really good signings, and we're satisfied because the window's shut, and there's nothing else to worry about in that. And it was all done on the last day, and it's just filling that gap, isn't it? I'm really hoping that once the football starts, pre-season or not, that'll fill part of the gap. Because we know Tranmere, Darren Gibson's back. Hopefully that's like...
Aruna Kone, be like a new signing
in a couple of weeks. Hopefully those things will be things to take our minds off this game that we all continue to play day in and day out. It's hard to think what we worry about when the transfer window's shut, isn't it?
Last week and this week.
Yeah, exactly.
The games.
Exactly. That's what you got to keep on telling yourself. It's about filling those hours. Get a nice book or something.
I think, to be honest, I think social media is fantastic, isn't it? It's great. We talk to anyone at any time, but it's an absolute nightmare at this time of year because the stories are every minute, the tweets are going round.
Hopefully we're filling that gap.
We're trying, aren't we? It'll get bigger and
hopefully this is a gap
better.
that we're filling to make people just keep watching all our videos on repeat and just take comfort. Take comfort from 2 grown men sitting here wearing a Spider-Man t-shirt and a Batman t-shirt, which was very, very unplanned. But just take comfort from that.
There's nowhere to go with that.
There's nowhere to go with that.
Other than say, follow us on Toffee TV1, subscribe to our channel. It might be going across here. It'll be going across there.
In sync, probably as well with us saying, it. No, in sync.
Subscribe
as well on YouTube. Go search Toffee TV1. You'll find us. You'll see us mugs. Don't search or don't follow Toffee TV because I think that's something completely different, about making sweets or candy if you're watching in the United States of America. And we're really, really sorry, America, that we couldn't fulfil the New York Red Bulls friendly that we tried to get
going. We're campaigning
we'll get
for
it going, as long as Tim stays, of course.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere else, Tim, because
he watches.
Yeah. But this has been Toffee TV. Hopefully we'll be back next week with new news of a couple of new signings, a couple of friendly results, and everything that goes with it. Maybe a new away kit as well.
Really?
I don't know. We'll be back soon.